Many independent homesteaders fall into a fascinating but costly trap, assuming matching feather colors with commercial hybrids guarantees the same predictable results in their own breeding pens. Picture the scene with a stunning light brown leghorn flock sire showing off his vibrant red and gold plumage, mating with pristine Exchequer Leghorn hens. This pairing creates a powerful visual illusion that fools even the most experienced farmer operating in the field. Popular theory suggests this combination yields chicks you can perfectly sort by gender the minute they hatch, optimizing feed consumption and saving brooder space. However, applied biology on the farm doesn't work through simple aesthetic imitations. This specific cross is a deceptive phenotypic clash that completely destroys visual downsexing. Today we're taking apart the biological engine of these birds to prove exactly why this incubator experiment completely fails. Let's begin. The promise of day-old downsexing transformed the poultry industry by allowing a rapid, cost-effective selection of future laying hens immediately after the hatch. The average breeder looks at that imposing light brown leghorn rooster and thinks they've struck a goldmine pairing him with elegant Exchequer Leghorn hens, hoping to replicate massive hatchery successes. This false sense of security comes from ignoring the deep genetic structure governing each breeding bird in your flock. The feather colors we see on adult birds are just a mask, hiding entirely different genetic engines operating underneath. When we operate at this high level of flock management, we can't trust the simple outward appearance of the plumage. True genetic engineering happens at the chromosomal level, and this pairing hides a biological surprise that alters chick-down morphology. To understand the failure of our specific cross, we must first dissect the biological formula behind the commercial laying birds that confuse so many independent producers today. Extraordinary hybrid lines base their massive success on the precise manipulation of sex-linked genes interacting in a very predictable manner. The standard commercial setup uses a purebred male like the Rhode Island Red, carrying the recessive gold allele. The farmer strategically pairs this breeder with a Columbian patterned maternal line to produce the famous Nick Brown, a sex-linked layer sharing the exact nest precision as the reputed Isa Brown. In this interaction, the dominant silver gene inherited exclusively from the mother block's gold pigment expression in male offspring. As a direct result of this chromosomal configuration, males hatch covered in pale yellow down while females hatch red. This pristine Mendelian segregation allows hatchery workers to sort thousands of birds per hour with an almost zero margin of error, maximizing the economic yield of the entire facility. The silver gene acts as a master switch in the male phenotype, silencing the father's gold allele with astonishing biological efficiency. This is the precise genetic setup any producer yearns to replicate in their own backyard to avoid wasting expensive, high-protein starter feed on unwanted roosters. However, the trap snaps shut the moment we try transferring this exact color logic to different varieties without analyzing the underlying alleles first. Phenotypes deceive the eye, and the modeled appearance of a commercial bird doesn't share the genetic architecture of heritage lines walking around our pastures. We can't build a profitable flock on assumptions alone. This is exactly where the myth crumbles loudly, as we expose the true genetic identity of our chosen breeding hens. The plumage of a commercial Sussex results from a clean restriction dictated by the dominant Columbian gene, confining black pigment exclusively to the bird's extremities. In absolute contrast, those beautiful Exchequer Leghorn hens hide a completely different biological engine beneath their black and white feathers. If we look through a genetic microscope, this hen is structurally a dark-based bird governed by the potent extended Black Locus. Her spotted appearance doesn't come from an authentic Columbian pattern, but is a radical alteration caused by the recessive mottled gene in a double dose. This revelation completely dismantles the inhibitor white theory many folks wrongfully assume when planning their field crosses. The undeniable presence of the extended Black Locus in the genetic code of your breeding hens irreversibly changes the rules of the game for any serious homesteader. This particular genotype transforms the hen into an aggressive melanin powerhouse, hiding her true dark nature under the action of recessive alleles stripping pigment from her feather tips. By introducing the majestic light brown leghorn rooster into these breeding pens, you're pitting a wild-type partridge genetic base against a solidly established black pigment machine. The male's genotype, biologically designed to express intense gold and red zones, lacks the necessary genetic tools to stop the dark tide his offspring will inherit from the maternal line. The resulting genetic collision inside your incubator is imminent and will utterly destroy any attempt at early visual classification. We finally reached the critical moment where applied science dictates the failure of this visual sexing experiment on the farm. As the embryos develop inside the shell, the extended black allele inherited from the Exchequer Leghorn hens exerts its absolute and crushing dominance over the chick's down. Being a highly penetrant dominant gene, it almost wipes out the delicate wild-type patterns the light brown leghorn rooster tries to pass down to his progeny. Instead of getting clearly defined yellow males and gold females, the shells break open to reveal a frustrating reality for the producer. The first-generation hybrid offspring hatch deeply covered in dark soot, irregularly and chaotically spotted, fusing intense black with faint copper flashes, making any quick visual diagnosis impossible while standing over the hatcher trays. This profound masking of the chick down eliminates any trace of the wild-type chipmunk pattern we normally use to differentiate genders. The relentless dominance of the Black Locus spreads like wet ink across the offspring's phenotype, covering the critical visual markers we desperately need for accurate sorting. The frustration in the brooder house becomes tangible when the producer wastes high-value inputs like premium starter rations, thermal energy, and vital floor space on unidentified roosters. This represents an unacceptable economic leak in any high-performance homestead operation. The failure of this sex-linked cross isn't a random accident caused by weather, but an unbreakable mathematical rule dictated by Mendelian segregation operating beneath the hen's feathers. We've taken apart the visual illusion and proved the true biological controller is a persistent dark background. Every failed hatching cycle teaches us an invaluable lesson about how genetics truly function when we operate outside conventional industrial hybrid lines. The dominating power of the black gene forces us to rethink our entire strategy in the incubation room, tossing traditional color-coding guides straight into the trash. Those Exchequer Leghorn hens proved they carry an impenetrable genetic barrier neutralizing the golden male's wild-type patterns with indisputable biological accuracy. This first phase of our field experiment concludes with an undeniable scientific verdict indicating the down color won't tell us the truth in this specific pen. Understanding this profound phenomenon marks the clear difference between a hobbyist trusting blind luck and an elite producer who manipulates biology to their advantage. The time has come to evolve our sorting tactics before the next flock hatches. We saw how the previous variation left us flying blind in the nest boxes thanks to that black gene dominating the landscape. That first experiment failed miserably when trying to separate males from females at hatch. However, out in the field, true producers adjust their genetic strategy on the fly. What happens if we keep our light brown leghorn flock sire and swap the Exchequer mother for an imposing Columbian Sussex hen? This is where biology gives us the perfect comeback. We're fusing a very ancient wild-type gold pattern with the silver majesty of the Sussex Columbian trait. This specific cross creates what we technically call the Leghorn Brown Sex-Link, a self-sexing hybrid representing a total redesign in your breeding plan. It offers practical, immediate solutions for those seeking maximum daily profitability without depending on expensive external poultry labs. By executing this strategic cross, the sex-linked mechanism triggers in a completely clean and predictable way. Unlike what we suffered in the first half of our analysis, here the Sussex hen doesn't contribute that dark genetic load dirtying up the chick's plumage. Her Columbian pattern acts as a perfect blank canvas that allows the clear manifestation of alleles tied to the sex chromosomes. These chromosomes enter an exact mathematical dance where the male transmits his traits to the daughters and the mother to the sons. This highly precise Mendelian segregation grants you absolute control over your poultry production right from the start. It completely eliminates the frustrating doubts and guesswork that cost the independent producers so much wasted time and money inside their own coops. The big question every pragmatic breeder asks before investing in breeding stock is whether these birds are truly sexable at hatch. The answer is a resounding yes. Forget about paying for expensive courses or hiring specialized crews to perform invasive vent sexing techniques that stress out your newborn birds. The exact moment those eggs hatch inside your incubator, you'll witness an absolutely crisp visual separation between both genders. That frustrating uncertainty of having to feed the entire batch for weeks completely vanishes from your facilities. You're securing the exact same competitive advantage huge poultry corporations enjoy, but implementing it directly in your own backyard. You achieve this massive operational upgrade using nothing but the potent immutable laws of natural genetic inheritance. Let's first analyze the males from this hybrid generation to understand their characteristic phenotype when breaking out of the shell. These chicks hatch wearing an incredibly clean and uniform yellow or cream-colored down. This happens because they inherit the dominant silver gene directly from their massive Sussex mother. This powerful silver allele possesses the biological capacity to completely cancel out and visually mask the reddish-brown tone the Leghorn father tries to pass down. Upon seeing that clear and unmistakable plumage, the operator instantly identifies they're looking at a male specimen. This early identification allows you to separate the cockerels on the exact day they hatch, maximizing your limited resources. You can redirect these birds into alternative meat programs or simply reduce your daily overhead costs. On the other hand, the visual landscape of the newborn females offers a truly fascinating and highly useful contrast in the hatcher. These future laying hens emerge from the shell showing off an intense brown or reddish tone, frequently adorned with those unmistakable dark chipmunk stripes running down their backs. This occurs because the pullets inherit the recessive gold gene from their Leghorn father, combined with the baseline striping pattern typical of that agile lineage. Since they don't possess the mother's silver gene to block this color, the father's genome expresses itself with total visual freedom. With just a quick glance at the hatching tray, you can collect these golden pullets with absolute confidence. You know every single ounce of feed they consume builds an unstoppable egg machine. Diving straight into the massive operational advantages, this low-cost commercial sexing stands out as the greatest triumph of this project. The independent producer manages to sort hundreds of chicks per hour with zero error margins and without paying expensive royalties to corporate genetics companies. This technological independence radically transforms the daily economics of your poultry facilities. You no longer waste valuable floor space, essential brooder heat, or expensive starter feed on unwanted males inside your grow-out pens. Every single square foot of your barn stays dedicated exclusively to raising productive females from the very first sunrise. By slashing those hidden rearing costs and optimizing your valuable energy resources, your net profit margin expands considerably, allowing you to keep upgrading and scaling your own farm. The second transformative benefit is the creation of what we call the ultimate backyard powerhouse, a true biological masterpiece. You're crossing the undisputed queen of massive egg production, the Leghorn, with a rugged, dual-purpose survivor like the majestic Sussex. The resulting hybrid female inherits a formidable vigor, boasting an immune system far superior to her purebred parents. These birds become relentless engines, capable of maintaining exceptional laying peaks even when temperatures drop drastically or severe weather hits the homestead. They aren't delicate birds requiring strictly controlled environmental conditions to thrive. They handle rough management beautifully, forage with intense aggression, and convert available pasture into premium-grade eggs with an efficiency that surprises even the most experienced farmer walking the fields. Added to that incredible structural resistance, this genetic combination solves one of the biggest headaches for the commercial producer by significantly improving egg size. While some high-production lines tend to lay small eggs that lose value at the market stand, the Sussex bloodline completely flips this challenging scenario. This maternal base brings a much wider skeletal structure and a larger pelvic capacity to her hybrid daughters. That extra anatomical space allows the reproductive tract to form and deposit substantially larger and heavier eggs. By stabilizing this superior size across your entire flock, you manage to satisfy that demanding clientele always hunting for jumbo eggs. You end up selling premium-grade cartons, creating fierce loyalty among your most profitable local buyers. However, operational transparency demands we analyze the real disadvantages of this cross, starting with the complex aesthetic dilemma of the eggshell. The light brown Leghorn is genetically coded to lay immaculate white eggs, while the Columbian Sussex produces very light brown tones. When these two distinct biological worlds collide inside the hybrid female, the result is a cream-colored or fully tinted egg. For many breeders, this doesn't represent any problem at all, but if your business model depends on delivering homogeneous boxes of classic white eggs, this alteration shatters your visual uniformity. Some local markets are extremely conservative and punish inconsistent colors at the counter. You must intimately know the strict preferences of your final consumers before betting your valuable capital. An infallible genetic indicator you must observe in this hybrid is the color of the earlobes. The light brown Leghorn flock sire possesses those characteristic white earlobe science directly links to the production of pristine white eggshells. By crossing him with the Sussex, the resulting F1 offspring inherits an intermediate phenotype, showing off pale cream or subtly pinkish earlobes. Biologically, this gives us a clear preview regarding the fate of the eggshell. It confirms the absolute loss of pure white, proving the porphyrin pigmentation from the Sussex maternal line alters the oviductal tract of the descendants. This early physical trait serves as a perfect visual radar for the farmer, predicting the tinted outcome weeks before the first egg even drops in the nest box. The second operational disadvantage lies in the inevitable loss of that anatomical sleekness that makes the pure Leghorn so incredibly profitable in massive operations. By injecting genetics from a heavy breed like the Sussex, the hybrid pullets develop a much denser musculature and a heavier body weight upon reaching their productive stage. This physical robustness requires higher basal energy simply to keep the animal moving every day, meaning they'll eat a slightly larger quantity of balanced feed. Even though they remain highly profitable birds, this increased intake slightly alters that famously strict feed conversion ratio of the original lineage. As a calculating producer, you must carefully evaluate if the extreme hardiness and jumbo size truly compensate for those extra ounces of expensive daily feed. Let's evaluate the neurobiological behavior and metabolic efficiency of the Leghorn Brown Sex-Link inside the coop. The nervous, skittish temperament of the Leghorn sire gets drastically cushioned by the docility of the Sussex, resulting in an active forager that remains highly manageable inside the barn. Regarding her productive yield, this bird not only inherits the sexual precocity of the Leghorn strain, breaking into early lay between weeks 18 and 20, but she also almost completely wipes out the brooding instinct inherited from the Sussex, guaranteeing the laying cycle doesn't suffer interruptions. Her feed conversion ratio lands at an optimal intermediate point, with a daily feed intake averaging just around 115 grams, or about 4 ounces of concentrated feed. This strikes a perfect balance between homestead hardiness and heavy egg profitability. At the end of the day, mastering applied biology means making strategic decisions grounded in the true daily challenges of your own farm. This powerful hybrid cross between our Leghorn rooster and the Columbian Sussex hen proves we can always overcome those frustrating genetic obstacles from the first half. We achieve completely effective visual sexing right out of the incubator and create an extremely resistant rustic layer. You gain a powerhouse capable of withstanding harsh climates while delivering cartons packed with truly massive eggs every single day. It's true we sacrifice the pure white eggshell and slightly increase the daily feed consumption, but this structural advantage is worth every penny invested. Drop a comment below and let me know if that tinted eggshell is a deal breaker for your customers, or if you prefer the raw vigor of this hybrid hen. If you got some value out of this breakdown, hit that subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up so we can keep bringing you practical poultry advice. To your success, fellow breeder. Until next time.